Oh, you want me to freestyle or hold on? I'll think of something. All right. All right. Let me start. Red rose, white ceiling. Welcome to another episode of the Bedroom Brainiacs podcast. I am particularly excited about this episode today because, Julie, you're the actual brainiac here. You're the one with the degrees and the knowledge. But today's episode, I think I am the expert on.
Is that right?
I've been training for this my entire life. So first, I want you to tell everybody what this episode is going to be about today.
I am on a mission to rebrand masturbation as solo sex.
So today we're going to talk about something I am intimately familiar with, and we are going to talk about masturbation. And I am so... This is so interesting to me, and this is the thing that I said I thought about that I wanted to tell you earlier.
Okay. Surprise.
Was surprise. So because this is definitely one of those things where I'm like, it's something I've been doing for so long. Mm-hmm. Before I really even knew what it was. I just been doing it because this is fun.
Yeah.
And you do anything long enough, you get better at it. So this is one of those things where, this is something that I really am excited about with this podcast, what I want to do, and that is have a discussion about something that people may not think that they need to talk about. Mm-hmm. People may think they're already an expert in this area, or people may think they know everything there is to know. And one thing that comes to mind is while we were at the Pride Market, mm-hmm. someone came up to our table and asked what we do. And I don't think you were there when this happened, but someone came up to our table for the center CD and asked what we do. And one of the things we said was adult sex education. And he said, nope, I don't need that. I have several kids. I'm good in that area. I know what I'm doing. And he walks away.
That's what we call one win condition.
So he assumed that he knew all there was that he needed to know, so he didn't need our services, and he kept walking. He didn't say it in an angry way.
Right. He wasn't rude. He just, in his head, if I had to guess, right, being told anything, like the one win condition is like, I've had sex. I know everything I need to know about sex. I've had sex.
Yes.
And I've had it enough times that I've had kids. Plural.
I've won. What else is there to know?
Right. And the idea that there is such a pressure or like narrative on people, the idea of like there's something wrong with you, or like you should feel ashamed or bad if you don't know something about sex.
Yes.
And it's like, but sex is infinite.
But you don't know that if you don't know that.
Right,
and
for sure.
And as with so many other things, you don't know what you don't know. So I am a person who I love to learn things. So I'd never think that I know all there is to know about a thing. Mm-hmm. But if I were that type of person, one area where I feel like I would think I'm an expert is jorking it. So, because, it's just one of those things again, and this is another reason why I am so excited about this podcast, because it's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know because you don't talk about it. Because sure. What reason would you have to discuss it? Really, like for so many people, it never comes up during Thanksgiving dinner. It doesn't come up when, if I ask someone out on a date and they say no, and I'm like, well, gonna go home and watch Netflix, but not really. But it's something that people don't talk about, and I think more people should. So I'm excited about today about the rebrand that you said you wanted to have, mm-hmm. about rebranding masturbation into solo sex.
Yeah.
So before we go into what you mean by that, I want to talk about what masturbation is. And when I say that, I want to talk about some of the misconceptions that you have heard either through your work, through conversations, through just any misconceptions that you've heard about masturbation that you kind of want to get out there. And I can share some that I've heard too, just amongst friends and amongst conversations, but I'm going to throw it to you now to share your thoughts on this.
Sure. So it's sort of an interesting thing, right? Because I have to like reconfigure my own brain as a person who already did the rebranding in here. I have to like come back and be like, wait a minute, what was it? So masturbation, when I'm talking about it as a sex educator and a sex therapist, is touching yourself in a pleasurable way. Mm-hmm. Not just with your own hands, but with toys, with materials, with fabric, with your hands, with or without lubricant, like infinite ways to touch yourself in a pleasure-seeking, pleasure-focused way is masturbation. Now, what most people conceptualize when they think about masturbation is by yourself, tab A, slap B, right? We're still in tab A, slap B territory, right? We think about jorking it. We think about rubbing one out. We think about flicking the bean, right? Like there's all these sort of like euphemisms.
Mixing on the turntables.
Mixing on the turntables. There's all these euphemisms for what is this very limited lens of masturbation of just like touching your genitals so you orgasm.
Right.
And that's the point. And
right.
that's you get to it, you get after it, you have your orgasm. A lot of people after that point feel shame, and then they quickly redress themselves and go back to whatever they were doing.
Just say, not me. Usually I feel sleepy and I take a nap.
Yeah, that's fair. Sleepy is a really common bodily response to orgasm. It has to do with cortisol being reuptaken. Anyway, less cortisol, right? And more oxytocin.
Yes.
And then you feel not stressed and sleepy. So, but that limited description of masturbation, it then makes it even less desirable.
It sounds like masturbation is the way that it's viewed typically, in what you're saying, and just in my mindset of conversations that I've heard, where at best it's viewed as a consolation. It's a substitute for the real thing.
Substitute for the real thing
at best.
Like that's the really good way to put it, is people talk about partnered sex as the real thing, and any sort of individual pleasure, like pleasure you're bringing onto yourself, doing for yourself, is less than and really is only to be pursued when you can't get the real thing.
Yes. Oh, hi. He's just our guest.
We have a guest star.
So this just makes it really difficult to
It is focus. Significantly harder to focus when there is such a cutie on camera.
So it's a substitute for the real thing. And I've heard a lot of shame around it, where even in the sense of, because it's a substitute for the real thing, when you talk about doing it, the response is, oh, you couldn't get the real thing? Shame, 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 shame. Or you just shouldn't do that because you're defiling yourself. Shame, 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 shame. Or if you're already in a relationship, you shouldn't need to do that because you're in a relationship. Shame, 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 shame. And this is where I want to bring up something that I heard on a podcast that I'm not going to name.
Okay.
Great podcast, love it. But one of the guys on the podcast, there was a conversation that was happening. And he said that if he was with his girlfriend and she wanted to use toys during sex, he wouldn't like that, because in his mind, it's, why am I not enough for you?
Oh, here we go.
And that went into a conversation about, if you're in a relationship, you should never have to masturbate, because if you why would you masturbate when you have someone there who you can have sex with? And the other people on the show were trying to tell him, like, that's not, like, what? And he was like, no, you have your person there. Why would you need to masturbate? You should never masturbate.
So there's two big things there, right? Like one's like we could do a whole episode just talking about like, hey guys, pleasure is the measure. Like sex is experience, not performance. Like it's not about,
Pleasure is the measure. Make a great t-shirt.
Pleasure is the measure. It's true. Pleasure is the measure. I did not coin that, just to be clear.
Oh no. Okay.
I don't know who did, but it is such a common phrase in the world of sex therapy and sex education. So I do not want to take credit for pleasure as the measure.
We could flip it and say measure your pleasure.
I don't want to measure my pleasure.
Because, sorry, I go off track. Continue.
No. Right. So the other big thing, right, is like that is so like that idea of like if you have a partner, you shouldn't masturbate and you shouldn't need to masturbate is such a confirmation of that like belief and story we have culturally that masturbation is a substitute for the real thing.
Yes.
Why though? Who knows your body better than you?
It feels like someone saying, let's say that I open up a pizza shop.
Okay.
That would be like someone saying to me, you have a restaurant. Why are you eating McNuggets? And to me, because to them, they're like, people are viewing it as the same thing when it's not. And it's just like, sometimes I want to eat McNuggets. Maybe I can't sleep, and a McNugget will make me fall asleep.
Well, and so you touch on the idea of like, why do we seek sexual pleasure? Infinite reasons. It's Tuesday. I want to fall asleep. I'm horny. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'd like to be distracted. I'm feeling stressed out, and this like muscle relaxation would be really helpful, right? Infinite reasons. But what I think is really difficult for people to conceptualize is the idea that masturbation is sex. Like, you tell someone that, and they look at you like you have lobsters crawling out of your ears.
Well, then would someone then, I don't feel this way, but do you think someone would then say, well, if masturbation is sex, then if you masturbate, you're cheating on me with yourself?
Probably. I mean, so that's not an unusual thing. And it does show up like in relationships that have conflict when there's a lot of like pressure and like anxiety around partnered sex. Some people may not have the skills and tools to be able to like navigate that conflict and resolve that. They may not have the communication tools. They may not have the therapeutic support. They may not have what they need in that space to be able to resolve that conflict, but they still want to experience sexual pleasure. And they're not experiencing sexual pleasure in their partnered relationship because of all this conflict and these obstacles and the anxiety and the pressure around sex. So they turn to solo sex. They turn to masturbation. And if they are actively and intentionally avoiding partnered sex by using masturbation or by having solo sex, then like, yeah, to some extent there is sort of a you're cheating on me with yourself energy happening there, right? But that has so much more to do with a relational dynamic that needs healing than it does with masturbation being a problem.
It sounds like what you're saying is masturbation is often, in these scenarios that we're discussing, masturbation is viewed as something that you're doing to me. Like if you're masturbating, you're doing this to me and you're hurting me, rather than it being something that you're doing for yourself.
Yes, and that's where I want to, because like I don't want to talk, I don't want to vilify like we're moving into that space where it's like, here's all the reasons masturbation gets vilified.
Yes.
And like what I really want to highlight is like masturbation is cool.
Yes, and that's exactly where I want to get to, because I want to get this out there about the part about it being vilified, because I feel like a lot of people, the vilification is common, I think. And I want to get that out of the way up front so that we can move past that and go to, all right, we talked about all of this and let's challenge that. And now let's spend the rest of the episode telling you why it's wonderful.
Fair.
Actually.
It is wonderful. And I think so much of what vilifies it, like, so we have like relationship vilification, right? Where people feel jealous. They feel rejected, they feel unwanted because their partner is participating in solo sex, and it is immediately perceived, and this is only true in some relationships some of the time, I want to be clear, but like the example you gave highlights this idea of like, it's perceived as a rejection, it's perceived as the person not wanting partnered sex, versus it being maybe a different thing of like wanting a particular type of pleasure or a particular type of experience that they know how to give themselves, that they want to have individually, and that being a perfectly valid thing, and having absolutely nothing to, it is not in any way a rejection of a partner. It's complementary to their overall sexuality and included in their exploration of sexual pleasure, solo and partnered sex, both together. The other sort of like main vilifications that come up a lot are like, it's sinful, it's bad, it's defiling, or like bad to do to your body. It's, you know, people will just say straight up and down, like, it's shameful. And I'm like, shame is a tool of the oppressor.
And it's interesting you say that, because that was going to be the next thing that I wanted to talk about, is the shame part of it and where that shame comes from. And just me throwing this out there to friends, I had a few people talk about the religious aspect of it. And I don't have any opinion one way or another on someone's religious views, but there are people who have maybe left behind those religious views, but they still can't let go of that shame that they feel at the idea of masturbation. Like, there's a lot of repression there, and there's a lot of shame around it. And that's so sad to me. Shame
is sad, just kind of generally, right? Like, I'm sure you will edit this into like a little snippet of me just repeatedly going, shame is a tool of the oppressor. Shame is a tool of the oppressor. Shame is a tool of the oppressor. Shame is a tool of the oppressor.
Shame is a tool of the oppressor.
Like, shame is there to manipulate society to behave in certain ways, right? We've read the Scarlet Letter. Like, it's there. That's the whole theme.
For people who haven't read the Scarlet Letter, give me a brief summary so people understand, or a brief explanation of the idea behind the Scarlet Letter.
A man has sex with an unmarried woman. She gets shamed. They put a scarlet letter on her and have her walk around town, and everyone shuns her and treats her terribly, and it's awful for her. The man, of course, nothing happens to him. And the whole premise is like, we are going to shun you and harm you and rip you out of society, and you do not receive the benefits of being part of community anymore because you have done a shameful thing. At its core, that is what everybody is afraid of. When you're experiencing shame, like the root of shame is banishment.
Right.
And it's like, oh no, if people knew I touched myself, they would banish me from society.
But it's so fun.
It is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing, and it is a thing that humans do from womb to grave. And that's something that, you know, people feel feelings about. But it is pleasure seeking. We pleasure seek from womb to grave. I don't feel shame telling somebody that I ate a really good piece of cake. You know,
this is the second cake reference you made.
I like cake. I like cake.
I'm going to do a supercut of all your cake references. But speaking of cake, I want to take that cake metaphor into another direction, where if someone were to ask you, what kind of cake do you like? What's your favorite kind of cake? You would have an answer because you've had cake before. And the thing with masturbation is, I think, and you would know this better than I would, but I have a theory that when they have any kind of sexual interactions with partners, they don't know really what they like because they haven't baked their own cake. So if a partner is asking, hey, what do you like? Is this good? Is this bad? What can I do? What are you into? What do you like? Then the person may be like, I don't really know.
Right? And that's a different form of shame, right? It sort of lands in this strange, it's rock in a hard place. I couldn't think of what I was trying to say. I was like, two birds, one stone, not the thing I'm thinking of. Rock, hard place. In the middle is a person who, no matter what they do, they feel like they're doing something wrong. If they masturbate, if they explore their own body and seek out their own pleasure and learn what they like and feel good, what feels good for them, what kind of touch they enjoy, pressure they enjoy, what kind of stroke or, diddle or whatever they want to do, what they enjoy. If they're doing that, they feel shame that that's what they're doing. Whether that's they feel shame because they should have a partner and they don't, whether that's they feel shame because of religious overtones or societal pressures, whether they feel shame because they were just told not to do that, right? Which is like a really common one, is like little kids play with their genitals when they're little and then their parents go, ah! Because their parents have this sex negative culture painted onto them. And then the kid immediately learns like, oh no, I'm not supposed to do that. And it's like, you are absolutely fully allowed to do that. Just maybe not at the dinner table. Right. We talk about there are things that you do when you have privacy. That's a different lesson than, don't do that, right? So whatever the reason the shame comes up, but then if they don't ever explore their own personal pleasure, then they're in a position where somebody that, they are lucky enough, make the effort to, and set the boundaries around and set standards for a relationship, and someone comes along and meets those standards and is open to an open dialogue to talk about consensual sexual behaviors and what they want to do. And they get to that line of questioning of like, what kinds of things do you want to try? What feels good for you? How do you like to be touched? What gets you in the mood? All those sorts of questions. And the person just goes, I don't know. They're feeling a different kind of shame now.
Right.
And so it's this sort of like lose-lose thing that comes up.
Which in my mind, if you're going to lose, at least lose in a way that feels good.
Well, the other thing that I think is really important is like, even there, it's a slippery slope. Where if we aren't careful in this dialogue, what the message that people are taking away is masturbate so you can figure out how to tell your partner what you like. And it's like, masturbate so that you can feel good.
Right. Yes. And that's a great point, right? Is just do it because it feels good. Like it's really that simple. And I am not in touch with what's happening these days with younger folks. But I distinctly remember, I feel like there's been a shift. I remember being a younger folk myself once upon a time. And there was a lot of shame around masturbation. Everyone was saying that's a thing that you don't do, that's so shameful. Meanwhile, everybody's doing it. Like everybody's doing it. And now it seems like it's more of a common, it's I don't want to say common, but we didn't have words like goonin, jorkin. We didn't have that. And now there's less stigma around it.
Well,
to me, and I don't know.
So I don't really know what the youths are talking about, but I don't think goonin is a good thing.
Goonin is a bad thing?
I think goonin is when you're looking at too much internet pornography and jorking it for like extended periods. Like they're not gonna come out to the movies with us because they're just always home goonin. To be clear, I am not a youth.
We sound like undercover cops right now.
Truly, truly. But I think that's sort of the way that it's used is just like sort of overindulging.
I thought it was just, so the connotation is that you're doing it too much.
Yeah.
See, I thought goonin was just goonin and then there was like over gooning. Like, I don't know. Okay. That makes sense.
Don't double goon.
Don't double goon, yeah. Only single goon. No, but I didn't know that. But
even there being a conversation among like that's an idea that it's like, hey, there's an amount of this that people are doing that we're all looking at and going like, oh yeah, everybody does it.
Yeah.
They just do it a little too much. And it's like, too much is such a subjective thing.
Who decides what's too much?
Well, the person who's doing it generally. And what I mean by that is like, if somebody comes to me and says like, I think I have a problem with masturbation, like the things that I'm going to be asking is like, well, you know, what's informing that for you? Mm-hmm. And, you know, how do you feel like masturbation affects your quality of life? Like, is it interfering with your ability to get your like work done in your job? Is it interfering with your personal relationships, with your familial relationships? Is it preventing you from achieving goals that you have set for yourself?
Right.
Like if it's an obstacle in your, like if you're gooning so much that it's an obstacle in your own life and it is like stressing you out, then maybe that is too much.
Right.
But if you like to wake up every morning and, you know, jork it before you start your day and you, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you could jork it 5 times a day. If it's not interfering with anything else, 5 times a day might be your number.
Yeah. Or, like, mix the turntable or whatever you want to, like, is it mix the turntable, scratch the record? What do you want to?
I think just DJing.
DJing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But, you know, I want us to transition to the positives and all of the reasons why you want to rebrand it as solo sex and exactly what you mean by that. But before we do that, I would like to share a story about why education is so important.
Okay.
I may have told you this story before.
Probably.
So this was a personal story for me about, it's a jork tale. and I wish I had education to tell me this, and I probably should have known this without any kind of education. But, you know, I was young. I'm not going to say how old I was. I was old enough, I feel like now, to know better. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, I really should have known better.
I know what story this is.
Yeah. I was out with I was doing something. I was out with some friends. I don't remember what we were doing. But I was out with a girl that I really liked. And I was so afraid to say anything. Afraid to tell this girl that I liked her because, that would be a nightmare. But the entire time we were hanging out with this group of friends, she was giving me all sorts of attention. Like, she was paying attention to me, which as a kid who really didn't get much of that was just like, oh my gosh, I'm getting attention. What do I do? So what I did was absolutely nothing. So the night goes on, the night ends, we go our separate ways, and I get back home and I am just a ball of I gotta have this release. Like, I gotta jork it. And I knew at this point that jork and dry was not for me. I needed some sort of lubrication. And I'm looking around for lubrication, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, I need some sort of lubrication right now. Where's the lotion? I look around, there's no lotion. So I look over here, I was like, ooh, there is a bottle of something. I used shampoo. I jorked with shampoo.
Ooh.
And let me just say, at first, I was like, oh, this is good.
It's a nice viscosity.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
But then a little bit got into the, a little bit got into like the
The urethra.
yeah. And it started to burn like a lot.
Yeah.
And I tried to play through the pain. I really did. I tried to play through the pain. But I don't remember how this ended. I'm pretty sure I gave up. But let me tell you something. Just imagine getting shampoo in your eyes. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was just one of those things where I think back to that a lot when I think about sex education and why it's so important. Is why did I think that jerking it with shampoo was a good idea?
Because it has such a nice viscosity.
Yeah, but it's shampoo. I've gotten shampoo in my eyes before.
Yeah. Well,
I was just so wrapped up in the moment that I was like, I gotta go.
well, and that's why is it important that we talk about masturbation? Here's a really great reason, right? This is a community problem. Like like having community could have solved this problem. Now listen, I'm always going to be a proponent for as much sex education as possible. Like sex ed. But this is also community stuff, right? Like this is, you tell your friend, hey, I tried this thing and I got shampoo in my pee hole and it burned for my, like it ruined my jorkin session, right? Like and then your friend knows now not to do that. Like there's a community support system.
Do you think there's someone else who jorked with shampoo?
I'm certain.
And I could have stopped them
I'm
and
certain.
I didn't say anything? I'm so sorry. I could have helped them and I just, in my shame.
Conditioner better. Still not, like, just use lubricant. Just use lubricant.
Okay.
In the shower, there's silicone lubricant, right? It's not water-based. It won't wash off. Like, you got options. But just in general, like, yeah, sex ed is great. And I think when it comes to masturbation, that shame around talking about it, that idea that you're not supposed to be doing it and it's a secret and don't tell anybody that you're doing it, it makes things like this, like they can be traumatic. Like I'm glad that it's funny now.
Oh, it's hilarious.
But
it was hilarious then. I honestly thought it was funny. I just was like, man, I really wish I could tell someone this, but I can't because of the shame and the ridicule I'll experience.
Right. And the reality is like, it is just genuinely funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's no shame, right? But that's like where you are now in life. And so much of what I think is so important about talking about masturbation and masturbating in general is like, it's not shameful. It's a regular, like, your sexuality and sexual arousal and sexual desire for those who experience it is as normal as being hungry or being sleepy or like having gas. Like it's just a normal part of being a human being. And this idea that we are supposed to feel shame about something that happens the same way being hungry happens is just bonkers.
Right.
Like, and it is just when you zoom out that far and you look at it, you're sort of like, oh, yeah, that's just oppressive control of a body.
Yeah.
That's not real at all. It's made up. I'm going to go masturbate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and this is a big part of, to me, why rebranding matters so much. Because rebranding is almost like a shortcut. And that seems, I don't know what that sounds like to people, but what I mean is masturbation comes with a lot of luggage. It comes with all these stories that we've heard about it, right? It's shameful, don't do it, don't tell anybody you're doing it if you're gonna do it, only do it if you're single, it's not as good as real sex, right? It comes with all this baggage, all this luggage. But solo sex, that's brand new.
Now explain what you mean by that. Like, I mean, you've already explained what you mean by it, but expand upon that a little bit more about what the difference is psychologically or maybe even physically, between masturbation and solo sex and what this rebrand means for you.
Okay.
Like if I were to tell you, I'm going to go home and masturbate, and then if you say to me, no, you should go home and have solo sex instead, and I go, well, what's the difference? What would you say to that?
Well, they might look exactly the same. They might not, but they might. But it's a different conceptualization of what you're doing, right? Solo sex on the same exact level as partnered sex, as an orgy, as sex with multiple partners, as going to a sex party, right? They're all just on the same tier, just different experiences. When we think about what the way that masturbation is framed is less than. And that's what we want to get away from. So if we've got sex, and there's just different kinds of sex, there's solo sex and partnered sex, there's multi-partner sex, there's sex parties, there's orgies, there's all these opportunities to have all kinds of sex, but it's all sex. Masturbation's a totally different word, right? So it already others it. So this idea of taking it away from this othered space and bringing it up into this tier where sex is happening, it distances itself from that like shame narrative of like you're doing this other thing that isn't quite sex. No, it's sex. Pleasure.
Yeah, this reminds me of something, and I just thought of this. As you were explaining that, in my mind, I thought, even for people who are hearing this or watching this, and they want to take your advice and they want to start rebranding it as solo sex, that can feel weird at first. And that's a word that we use a lot, but weird. And there's nothing wrong with things feeling weird. And I thought back to something that's completely unrelated that I did that felt weird at first. And then I kind of sat back and went, wait, why is this weird? I remember, and follow me here, I like to go off on tangents here. But I remember, buckle in, we're going on an adventure. I remember there was this place in town. For anyone who doesn't know, I spend a lot of time on my computer, either working on my writing or working on editing these videos like the one you're watching right now. So I spend a lot of time on my computer. And because I spend a lot of time on my computer, I like to take my computer to different places so that I don't feel trapped in one room all the time while I'm doing this. I like to go to coffee shops. So someone had told me about a really nice coffee shop in town, and a couple people had told me about it. So one day I was looking for a spot to work, and I said, oh, I'm gonna go to this coffee shop. So I Googled it and found a location, and I go there, and turns out it's not a coffee shop. It's a restaurant that sells coffee. And I didn't realize that until I got in there. And someone met me at the front door and said, okay, how many? And I was like, oh gosh, this is a whole restaurant. I'm at a restaurant by myself. This feels weird. I should leave. But in the moment I was like, just one, please. And I went and got a table for myself and got myself a nice breakfast and sat down with my computer and I didn't even work on anything, actually. I just sat down with my stuff here and just had my breakfast, and I might have done a little bit of work. But when I told my friends about it later, I told them, I was like, hey, I went out on a nice date yesterday. And they're like, oh, with who? I'm like, with myself. So it was this thing where it felt weird going to a restaurant by myself, the same way some people think it's weird to go to movies by yourself. It felt weird, but then after I did it, I was like, what was it in my brain that was telling me that was weird? And honestly, if I hadn't done it by accident, I might not have done it because I might not have gotten over that hump, that weird hump. But I did it, and then it made me realize, I was assigning a meaning to this that wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to breakfast by yourself. You can have sex by yourself.
Have sex by yourself.
It was solo date.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, right? Like, we have this narrative that sex is this partnered act. And it's like, sex is a multifaceted experience. It has infinite possibilities, one of which is solo sex. And with solo sex, why I think rebranding it as solo sex is valuable and important has to do with getting it away from that othered space. And then additionally, once we get it away from the othered space, now we can move it into this expansive space. And so when masturbation is motivated by, or like entrapped in this narrative of like shame, and it's less than real sex, and it's something that you do that's sort of, for a lot of people, it's sort of utilitarian. You're doing it to kind of get it out of the way, to like clear the pipes, or like clear your head, or I want to take a nap, or whatever it is. Like, it's got this very like utilitarian, like it's goal oriented in this way that is like trying to knock out this orgasm and get on with my day.
Right.
Or go to bed, or whatever the case may be. And it really takes away from, for many people, like the pleasure experience.
Right.
But they don't even know that it's taking away from the pleasure experience because they're not viewing it as sex. They're viewing it as this like activity they need to do.
Right.
But if we start looking at it and we view it as sex, and it's like, well, what if you slowed down? What if you incorporated toys? What if you talked nicely to yourself? You turned on music that you like? What if you got some nice lubricant? What if you got, a grind pad or a like mechanical blowjob machine, right? Like, if like there's all these ways that you can bring it into being pleasure focused rather than being like goal oriented.
And this is interesting that you say this, because this is something that I've done not knowing that I've done it. And I'm talking all the way back in my, mid to late teens. Because when you live at home with your parents and other people in the home, you don't, and by the way, this was in the late 20th century when you didn't have cell phones.
You had the family computer.
You had the family computer, right? So you didn't really get to, you didn't really get to do what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it. But sometimes everyone else in the home was away. Your parents were away for a while, like brother and sister are gone. Like, for whatever reason, you have the entire house to yourself, and you know that you have this time where no one's going to come home. So now you can really take your time. You can set the mood. You can pull the blinds. You can really find that good JPEG that you want to look at. And really, like, figure out exactly what you want. And you can take your time, because maybe it's an unexpected moment that you have, but you're like, wow, I have all this free time. I have access to this family computer with 56K dial-up connection. This is just going to be strictly for pleasure, because when am I going to get this chance again? I have no idea. So I just take my time with it. And it was so much fun. Those were my favorite jorks. Like, yeah. And so I was already doing this without knowing that it's a thing that I was doing.
Right. And like, when you take that separation of like, I'm doing this thing, I'm not really realizing the benefits of it. Like, because it's not intentional. It's not something that I'm like I'm recognizing that it's good. Like, these are my favorite times jorking it. But when we compile that together, when we like bring together the intentionality and the experience, like, it reshapes so to call back to some of these friends of yours and different people who have talked about that experience of like feeling shame about masturbation but wanting to not feel it anymore, right? These sorts of like weaving together of being like, I'm setting aside this time. It's gonna feel weird, because I've never done it before, and because I'm trying to overcome shame narratives that I know are actually false and that are like efforts of the oppressor trying to oppress me. These things are going to make it feel weird, but I'm safe, I'm comfortable, I have autonomy and choice, and I deserve pleasure. So I'm going to take my time and I'm going to initiate this with myself. Mm-hmm. And that, what it does when we like shift to that place, it really starts to rewire your nervous system, right? And like that's really it's like it becomes an integrated part, and it becomes your new narrative, and that old narrative gets quieter and quieter, and the new narrative is I am a person who chooses pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And and I also want to call back to the cake example that we gave.
Love cake.
I know. So I talked about because you eat cake, you can tell someone else what cake you like.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to specify, and you can tell me if I'm accurate in saying this, that what you said was the point of having solo sex is not to be able to, you're not doing it so you can research yourself to tell other people what you like.
There's not one win condition. There's many win conditions.
So what that means to me is being able to tell other people what you like is just a fortunate side effect.
Yeah.
Because when you go to get cake, you're not looking at the cake going, ooh, I can't wait to learn more about what to tell this other bakery that I like when I eat this cake. You're going, this cake looks really good and I'm going to eat it.
Well, and that's such an interesting thing that you touched on. This cake looks really good, I'm going to eat it. Mm-hmm. Right? And this is probably a whole nother episode of the podcast. But like, you might see something happen because now you can just, the porn is available, not in JPEG format.
Miss JPEG format.
But so you might see something, you might be like, that looks, or maybe you read it, right, in a fan fiction or one of the romantasy books that people are really into, yeah. wherever you're getting your pornographic materials. And you go, that's interesting. Maybe I want to try that, right? That cake looks really good. I want to try it. Then you bring it home and it turns out that it has coconut in it and you go, ugh. Sorry to anybody who likes coconut. It's not my jam.
We've already angered the Bridgerton fans. Now we're gonna anger coconut fans. Continue.
Hey, we've all got our things. And you bring it home and it has coconut in it, and you go, But you tried it. You tried the cake, and it doesn't mean you don't like cake at all. Mm-hmm. It just means you didn't like that particular cake, and it looks good, and maybe you enjoy looking at it. Mm-hmm. And maybe looking at it brings you pleasure, right? And this is a whole other episode we can talk about in regards to fantasy, mm-hmm. and just the idea that like fantasy is arousing, and that doesn't mean that you have to try it. The idea that fantasy is fantasy, and part of what is titillating and desirable about fantasy is that it is fantasy.
I think you guys should let me know if that's something that you want to see covered on a new episode. Let us know in the comments. Or just text one of us, since most of the people watching are our friends. So just shoot us a message and let us know that you want to see that.
But that's a big part of what, to me, if you build this self-trust with yourself, that's, again, a whole big part of this idea of like rebranding, mm-hmm. right? When masturbation is this shameful thing that you're doing in secret, and you're like, or even if you don't feel ashamed about it, you maybe still feel like it needs to be a secret. You don't want people to know. So you're like, I don't want people to think I'm taking too long of a shower. And so you're like trying to just like knock it out really quick. Like you don't have an opportunity to do that exploration and figure out, do I like this kind of cake? Do I like that kind of cake? What do I like? And when that becomes the habit, it becomes, again, really, really goal-oriented. And so then you get into this space where you're motivated to do it to get a means to an end, and that the curiosity and like enjoyment of just exploring and like learning things goes away. And so then it becomes, masturbation kind of becomes pass-fail. You either get the O or you don't. And that creates anxiety and stress and all kinds of things if you're not hitting your mark, so to speak.
And which takes away from the whole point of this is it's supposed to be pleasurable.
Like if it feels like a test, like unless that's something that like you've negotiated as like a desirable part of your sex play with yourself or with other people, it doesn't, like, it's not a test. It's just meant to be like fun and pleasurable. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll be like, well, if I don't come, how do I know when to stop? I'm like, when you're done. Like when you're done. Like if it stops feeling pleasurable or you start to get bored or you want to redirect to something else, then you stop.
That seems like circular logic, but makes complete sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
Whereas how do I know when I'm done? When you stop. Well, yeah, how do I know when to stop? When you're done.
Right. And it does, but we have the story that like narrative, that Hollywood sex narrative is so deeply ingrained that even when there isn't a penis in the story, right? Even if it's someone with a vulva who is enjoying solo sex, there's this sense of like, when do I stop? And it's like, you don't need a penis to ejaculate to know that sex is over. A penis doesn't even have to be there for it to be sex.
I think what's really cool about what you do and what we do with these conversations is pointing out rules that people didn't even know they were following.
Yeah.
And deconstructing all these things, because so much of what you're saying makes sense. And listening to you, and I hope that other people listening as well, go, that makes so much sense. Why would anyone think otherwise? Why do you have to say these things? Because what you're saying makes so much sense. Like, even listening to you say that people ask you, how do they know when to stop? In what other world do you need someone to tell you that? When do you know when to stop drinking water? When you're done drinking water, you stop drinking water. But where do these ideas and these rules come from that people follow? And I think it's important that we point out to people that, hey, this idea that you have may have been influenced by something else. So it may be in your best interest to reevaluate that and where you got this from.
Well, and it's really tough because we don't even realize, that's the thing with a lot of these narratives, and especially about sex, like we don't even realize that we're getting them, right? Like earlier when I talked about like a parent seeing a kid like playing with their genitals, the parent's reaction, this isn't, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not trying to, like, there's no blame there, like it's a very normal reaction because it's just ingrained, it's so deeply in the body. But then the kid gets it too.
Yeah.
And it's not good or bad, it's not good, but like we get these ideas and narratives about sex. Most people learn about sex by seeing it on TV, in movies. Like that's sort of their first engagement with it. They're not getting early conversations. They're not getting comprehensive sex education where we're starting at the age when kids are exploring their genitals and explaining to them that like, hey, that might feel good and that's okay. Like that's a normal thing. That you have a lot of nerve endings in that part of your body and they are mapped for pleasure. Like we're not starting at that early age when exploration of the body is starting. We're just going, don't touch there. And then later we're going, you should know everything about sex.
But that doesn't...
We just erase that middle part where you would be learning it. Right, and so like comprehensive sex education, people talk about it and they're like, oh, it's like such a buzzword. But like really what we're talking about is like building blocks. So you're starting at the age that you're exploring your body, you're learning that your body has pleasure markers. And then you're building from there as you gain more like cognitive functioning, you gain more knowledge about like the way that society is structured and what privacy is and means. And you learn about these things and then you build on that and then you build on that and then you build on that. so that you have a relationship with your sexuality from the jump, and all of a sudden you're an integrated human being rather than somebody who has to battle decades of shame before you can even get to a place where you can feel like solo sex is something pleasurable and fun and explorative rather than it being less than.
Yeah, and it's like, if you have an itch on your arm, you scratch it. It sounds like what you're saying is solo sex should be just as simple and stress-free as this feels good, so I'm going to scratch this itch. But there's so many things that get in the way of that, that we learn about. If we were describing it as an itch, it's, am I allowed to scratch this itch? This is, oh my, I feel so much shame for scratching this itch. Oh, but wait, I have a partner who should scratch this itch for me. I shouldn't be scratching it myself. Or, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be this. I'm defiling my body by scratching this itch. I should have, and there's so many things that get like, and there's the shame part of it. I keep coming back to the shame part of it because that makes me so sad, because it's such a thing that's so personal and it's so pleasurable, and it would be so good for so many people, but they just can't do it. They can
do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think is an important takeaway, is this idea of like, shame doesn't have to be forever, but it is work to overcome it. And that idea of like, I can't because it makes me uncomfortable. Hey, discomfort is where growth and change happens. And the goal, the key piece is, how do I communicate to my body and to myself that I am a trustworthy person, that I can trust me to keep myself safe, and to understand that discomfort and lack of safety are different things. So if you want to overcome the shame and you want to enjoy solo sex, build a trusting relationship with yourself. Know that you can keep yourself safe. And then when the shame comes up, the discomfort that is that shame, know that that is just a shame narrative, and begin to label it that and move that, right? So sort of cognitively have a sort of cognitive picture of yourself taking that shame and going, I get that you're here, you're not in charge. You can be here, I can't make you leave, but you're not the boss. I'm the boss. I am me. Like, that's a different thing over there, that shame narrative.
And that's such a powerful thing, I think, that can be taken from a solo sex space, is figuring out how to push back against that shame narrative. And you can take that and apply it to so many other areas of things that you may want to do, you may be curious about, things that may be true to who you are, things that from outside sources may tell you, hey, that's shameful, you should feel shame. Because shame is such a, you said it, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
That can be used to control people.
And it's scary. Like, it is genuine. It feels, it evokes fear in the body, because like in Romeo and Juliet, buckle in. In Romeo and Juliet, when Romeo, when Romeo kills Tybalt, right? And then everybody's like, well, we can't be having all these people doing all these murders, right? And so the police officer is like, we got to deal with this. And instead of like killing, he wants to make a point that there will be no more murdering. So instead of Romeo getting killed, he banishes Romeo. And then Romeo walks up to the front of the stage to do a soliloquy. We love a soliloquy. And he looks out to the audience and he says something along the lines of, banishment, a punishment worse than death. He's alive. He just can't live in Mantua anymore. And he's like, this is worse than death. And there's the idea here, I assume with like the diehard romantics, is like, oh, he's banished, he'll never see Juliet again. But to me, that idea of like, I am banished from my community, I am isolated, I will be alone, that is truly, to a human, which is a social creature, banishment and isolation is in fact a punishment worse than death. It will ultimately lead to death if you are left in isolation. So there is this deep, real fear about shame, because it means like shame, the narrative of shame is this: if people knew about this, they would banish me. And I am here to tell you, you're not going to get banished if you masturbate. In fact, my takeaway from this entire podcast that I'm hoping people will do is talk to your friends about your solo sex experiences.
Yeah.
Have conversations about solo sex. Talk about what it does for you, why you enjoy it. Ask questions, be curious, and support each other and validate that solo sex is a really valid and important part of being a human being. You get to be sexual, and you get to build a sexual relationship with yourself. And that is the person you have the longest relationship with.
You know what? I will be, if you're afraid to take that advice, I will be the change I want to see in the world. World, all of our viewers, the only thing that gets beat more than my meat is Dak Prescott in the NFL playoffs. Oh, go Birds.
Go Birds.
I think that's a good place to end. We can, if you have any closing kind of, I'm not sure what advice we can give to people, because I wanted this episode to be not an instructional on how to masturbate, how to have solo sex. I want to just get people to just have the conversation about solo sex being a wonderful thing, and changing that just rebranding it as solo sex and getting people in the mindset of this doesn't have to be shameful. This is not shameful. So is there anything, and we can explore this more later if people want more information as far as toys, lube, just any kind of thing any things that, you know, maybe advice for people who want to have a conversation with the partner, who, if they want to rebrand solo sex but their partner doesn't, what is that conversation like?
For sure.
But if there's anything that you want to share with people, I always like to end on an informative note, or just give people more information on, if they watch this video and go, wow, I want to do solo sex.
I hope, I am truly so hopeful that is what people walk away from this with. Like, I want to make a date for myself. I'm going to put it on the calendar that I'm going to have this solo sex date. That's a piece of advice there. I do think putting it on the calendar makes a big difference. But some of the things that I think are worth considering is like that piece that I'm talking about of like building a trusting relationship with yourself. Right? You have the longest sexual relationship you will have in your life is the one you have with yourself. And building that as a positive, as an embrace, as something that you are celebrating. And all of that is to say, like, if you don't want to masturbate, if you're not into it, if it doesn't do anything for you, I'm not here to tell you to do something you don't like doing, ever. But if you're curious about it, if you're interested in it, if you know you like it, moving it into a place of importance in your life, treating it as something valuable and like enriching, really thinking about it from a place of like intentionality. Like, I'm setting this time aside for this date with myself, for this time with myself. I want to experience my sexuality in these ways. And like, curiosity. I said once that when I die, etched on my urn, I just want it to say, stayed curious. And a piece of, like, that is truly one of my deepest values in life. And I will always encourage that idea of like, do not have one win condition for really anything in your life. So when you think about this idea of like, I'm going to set aside some time for a solo sex date with myself. If what you usually do is get out over liable, right? And it's, I'm in, I'm out, I come, I'm dressed and back out the door. Like, see if you can just get curious about your own pleasure. Rather than the goal be, I'm gonna do the same thing I've always done every time I've ever done this with myself. If instead you go, what would it feel like from this position? Or what would it feel like if I bought new lubricant? What would it feel like if I turned the lights down? What would it feel like if, and then fill in those if blanks with just a little bit more intention and a little bit more focus on being curious about pleasure.
I love that. And with that, I want to tell everybody, thank you for watching. And also, if you could, set up a solo date with that like and subscribe button. And please make sure you tell all your friends and tell them to watch us and share this everywhere. And also, I'm going to include a link to subscribe to the Center CD's newsletter.
Oh yeah, we have a newsletter. It comes out every month. I write stuff in it. I write sort of things similar to kind of the things you'll hear here, but different topics, right? And I also do this little feature called We Went to the Movies, where I watch a movie. Sometimes it's one that I go out and see. Sometimes it's one that I, pull up or have watched a bunch of times and just really like. And then I talk about sort of how sex and sexuality shows up in that movie and what some of those narratives that we like get all in under our skin are and how they show up in the movie and what we like or don't like about that. It's fun. I like doing it. Would love it if you read it. So please, truly, I know it's like, hey, like and subscribe, but like and subscribe and share and sign up for our newsletter. It's good. Also, we do retreats and workshops. We're doing a virtual book club. We're going to read, it doesn't have a cover on it. Good Sex by Dr. Nicole Hargens, Candace Nicole Hargens. She's incredible, and the book's really good, and the book club will be facilitated by 2 sex therapists. So you got that going for you. That's why you should sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah.
So do that.
All right. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go jerk off.